They're recording us. You're not here? Are you serious? That's fun.
Yeah, this is the code right here. Good.
Wait, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Is that speech drop?
Yeah,
Okay.
speech drop.
I'm saying I'm getting an invalid room code.
Lowercase t. Oh, this isn't
Oh, it's a
a
T.
capital T. Sorry, it looks like an I.
Sweet, I'm good.
Okay, everyone. Traditional forms of fire hypothesize the resolution as being a necessary question to resolve big 60-year discourses and masculine to cast and educate discussions short and general violence. So when he calls for transnational feminist actors to reconceptualize the underpinnings of politics away from the state security posture and trustful forms of everyday violence perpetuated by institutional desire. Shepherd 9. According to the international scholars focus on words it means to provide the civil security feminist approach to RCT, correct this in linear utopia, gender relations law, critical scholars to look beyond obsession with the word laws to investigate insights of feminist art, war peace, disharmony, gender misleading feminist security studies offer important corrective assumptions of our perpetuated violence, seek to address we take seriously on the women produce more meaningful analysis of security, feminist kind of violence, as a component of understanding security. Beyond in our focus on war, state violence, and the plethora of everyday violence, feminist security studies seek to address feminist argument, peacetime is misleading, label periods of peace or war, divert attention away from violence, and reinforce social behavior, divert attention away from violence, and inform reinforce social behavior. What can be seen, never be seen as surrender, rather part of a continuum. Rather than pursuing security is something that can be achieved. Absolutely engaging with security is discourse enables analysis of our critiques from feminist college grounded rejection of realism, government censure, military version of national security, and reject the existential threats, even it seems to be the worst possible scenarios, masculine survivalism, which force the gender bodies to reproduce in order to sustain humanity. Mission 15. Extinction assumes all organisms should be made to express reproductive abilities in order to extinction trench in order to regarding gender reproductive later. Extinction is gender to dominate scientific and policy firms belief reproduction imperative. This species is directly related to the Western norms of the reproductive imperative for women by conflating survival as sexual reproduction discourse of extinction by different that replace reproduction to imperative to survive in all other dimensions of reproduction. And large-scale threats of future suffering collapses ethics and creates a form of temporal blackmail. The only ethical response to refuse to the primary and align yourself with feminist urgency. Also 15. Large ethical concerns future suffering might be bypassed at bigger scales. Pressure over releasing the necessary suspension of ordinary ethical concerns to play more pumps and put in the hands of the enemy bodies that are currently suffering cannot be urgent because they are excluded from potential collectivity in some future time. But good violence, securitization, urgencies provide justifications emerging absurd power of urgency. Waiting produces hierarchies. There's matter and those who do not waiting undermine possibility of self-care. Saving the world should require debate about whose world is being saved in the first place. And hegemonic masculinity creates series of power relations. This is the foundation for preservation, gender, age, class, sexuality, and race. The perm solves and comes first. Call it so 4. Elite white men around American masculinity pattern on becomes hegemonic population. Accept ideas about heterosexual women as natural beyond reproach. Hegemonic masculinity always be achieved. Define their opposition to women, poor, working class women of all races and the tendencies of hegemonic masculinity shaped by outer religions, gender, age, class, sexuality, and race. Within these groups, hegemonic masculinity meaningless. Hegemonic masculinity organized as a 3-tier structure. Those close to hegemonic masculinity at the top requires marginalized and subordinated masculinities matches up with the white, black, affirmative that accompanies racism, heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, heterosexism, and a class system that grants individuals more power within femininity, race, sex, sexual orientation, and just reduce categories of marginalized femininities. And Military presences and protection, record protecting women is the liberal justification for endless wars that renders everybody left safe, be skeptical of any event of any war for patriarchal protection for 921. Withdraw troops, women's suffrage, we go harm, plight of women offer pretext for use military devastation, U.S. politicians, self-government feminist activists, for sure liberation of women, convenient, of with the imperial interest of bombing is good for women, mainstream hospitals, product to the public conscious, your time and period, given somebody meditating on decision with such as the war, gender equality, women's rights, thinks that's women empowerment like a military that kills women across the globe, no blueprint for women's liberation. Plenty of women indications that the U.S. is never actually in the business of improving women in the country. Why feminists in the U.S. is tied to war occupation and such freeing African women out of this. Women thought to see that created religion thinking of all women is your freedom. Severe industrial conflicts relied on the assumptions we will harm will fall women in the wake of patrol. And thus the United States ought to substantially reduce its military presence in the West Asia North Africa region through transnational feminist lines. Standards 20. Transnational feminist movements pressure states to respond backlash against women rights may become more equitable liberal states feminist allies only for dismantle white supremacy countries of the global south make unique contributions to expanding women agenda in an innovative way become normative of the global north pragmatic patriarchy lost in gender inequality and make it difficult to challenge the long term. Why does the status people's experience in the state not a state reminds of contribution to feminist perspective after the understanding of life. And we control the root cause of conflict and when entrance every dislike. High at 20. Conflicts in the latest since 2011 uprising now state actors increasing influence in new wars, civilized effective more directly conflicts, spread chaos, widespread patriarchy, violence, institutions like militarized masculinity, proliferation, exploited and violence, dominant international discourse and peace have become militarized, prioritizing any conflicts rather than preventing them, hindering feminist peace, reinforcing stereotypes and trans ideas like countering extremism and activist groups, reframe their gender aligned with the gender, adopting a feminist lens allows us to post a more holistic version of peace, understanding root cause of conflict, continuum of violence through peace, efforts against future conflicts, precedes women's lives because they overlook the underlying inequalities, response to the problems on the underdeveloped. And reorienting U.S. policy away from a violent military confrontation sends a global signal the U.S. is uniquely positioned to be a global leader. Stock Left 21. Darn to save from a more civilized society using image of a helpless African woman, but she appealed to the hardships of the American people. Must we support you for using invasion, using middle women as a rationale for war and militarization, claiming the U.S. is responsible for the liberation of Middle East women for preservation gender uses as guys for the military control presents progress through public lens to the rest of the world. U.S. does not amplify women's voices in Middle Eastern politics. U.S. could be a burger and equitable gender policy making in the Middle East needs to create policies that support mainstream of women participation as a major order. The U.S. is often seen as the leading opinion maker in foreign policy. Important role in regional realities use middle women to advance the narrative of progression apart from human rights while blatantly contradicting themselves through sentiment and actions in order for the U.S. to become a serious recognition of fundamental change in how things cannot continue military conflict. And we must unflinchingly reject militarism and inherently anti-feminist structure has causes harmful challenges. Only an uncompromising feminist paradigm has the possibility of ensuring peace. Diabus 22. Militarism is a necessary goal of hard militarism includes manifestation of toxic hypermasculine use of patriarchy, taxes, fear-mongering, war planning, dehumanization, create balances that allow it to dominate militarization, exacerbate biggest challenges facing media region feminists approach only move forward militarized activities, disrupting militarism, quality social movement to deflect criticism against the Western trying to justify wars and mean liberate the person with white safer conflict trading anti-feminist mention feminism, meaning remote and the most negatively affected exacerbated by militarism, conflict militarism. The role of the ballot is evaluate the debate is not active knowledge production if you prove any of their discourse perpetuates violence or independently reject them. To 13. Debaters and coaches complete stop looking at ourselves as isolated, recognize discourse knowledge, we produce innovative real implications for how we think about leaving this space. We continue to operate while our performances are merely about bodies into the foster of violence and discourse shapes reality. Brighter 23. Discourse training how we understand the world, rationalizing violence, powerlessing, concealment, constructive wars, London, guys, civil narration, social violence, violence, and discourse age of perpetuality. And debate is key. The DoD is substantially increasing military presence. Southeast debate tournaments, business as usual debate creates war makers and evidence is straight from the military. Barrier 24. National intelligence security to recruit high school debaters, topics that are security operation under arms, high school debate program creates war makers. Then go back to the card. Feminist offers a holistic vision for peace only if they conceptualize and implement it within the true intention of eradicating power balances or structural violence cannot coexist with colonialist mentality. Mentality.
That was the only thing I.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, paper cross.
Oh, one second. Okay, yeah.
Who implements the plan?
The United States government.
So the federal government?
I don't think we specified yet.
Okay, sure, that's fine. What does it mean to implement it through a transnational feminist lens?
Sure. So we feel that the plan would be done, military presence would be withdrawn, but we think that the United States doing that sort of through a transnational feminist lens would
What
be
does it
uniquely
mean?
good.
What does it mean to
Sure.
you?
So doing it under a transnational feminist lens, I guess that would look like the United States justification for pulling out would be we're doing it because of oppressing women in the Middle East, stuff like
Does
that.
the transnational feminist lens only apply to reducing military presence?
We would say that the app is the discussion of transnational feminism in the app is also good.
Yeah, but the
Oh yeah. We don't feel everybody becomes a transnational feminist. We don't feel that mindset shift. We only feel it in the context of
Okay, let's talk about the role of the ballot. How do you weigh offense?
Sure. So you have to win that your representations are uniquely good in the round, and you also need to and then you can weigh extinction stuff like that.
Okay, sure. That makes sense. Or I guess winning or justifying your representations, what does that look like? How do you
Sure. So we would say that you win, that your representations are good by proving that they don't perpetuate things like violence in the debate space, stuff like that. Our cards are very specific on how debate sort of like debate specifically shapes your subjectivity. So we would say that like debating about like stuff that perpetuates violence is obviously a bad thing.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about this Southcase 21 evidence. It says the United States is positioned to be a global leader, but the evidence seems to be talking about how the United States policies perpetuate forms of patriarchy.
Yeah, so the card is talking about how right now the United States is sort of like being like really, really bad in the Middle East. Either killing women, they're like being like, oh yeah, we're gonna go save women, and then they're contradicting themselves. This is obviously bad, and we would say that the act changes this because we would like withdraw our military presence, which is obviously like a radical act, stuff like that. We would say that like the card talks about how yes, the United States is bad now, but it has the potential to become better.
Where does it say it has the potential?
Sure, so it says like as a major world actor, U.S. is seen as leading opinion maker. Like in order for the U.S. to become a serious broker, it needs a fundamental change in how things are done. Cannot continue military conflict. Stuff
Sure,
like that.
the app is one policy. How's that a fundamental change in the way the government operates?
Sure. So we've made like the spillover claim, and we also think that like
So the app solvency is based on transnational feminism.
yeah, but also like
Yeah, that's
withdrawing
fine.
military presence in the.
KA 20 evidence. I guess the root cause of conflict. This says that conflicts have been associated with like anti-feminism. Where does it say that they control like?
Sure, so it talks about how sort of like leaders in their justifications for stuff like proliferation, for their justifications for stuff like war in general, they've sort of been sort of like using these patriarchal mindsets when they're like sort of like waging war, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what the card sort of like talks about.
Yeah, sure. It talks about the Arab Spring. How is that based on?
It talks about how conflicts have been increasing since the Arab Spring.
Okay, sure, that's fine. I'll send it. It'll be 6th case.
Okay.
Is everything?
The affirmative may only garner offense of the hypothetical implementation of the resolution result requires a legislative instrument, LSA 05, a legislative instrument making declaration stating policy making decisions of resolution used by the term result in the violation is preemptive post facto topic adjustment structure favorably favored by manipulating the balance of properly constructed in one area of literature before here's which gives them a huge edge which locks in predictable and locks us into predictable null set and monolithic critiques that are susceptible to the perm and debate is best disclosed after 30 minutes before the round or prior to the next prior to the expiring violation. The screenshots on the doc they didn't respond to our disclosure message until after we already flipped negative vote negative for appear on proud but not disclosing the flip allows the app to force a negative unstrategic position because you have to choose sides in the dark saying that you just won't disclose outright. So also that offense gives us a basis for how we should flip instead of just picking with the response. And extinction is categorized distinct moral side constraint threats. Ontological conditions of life itself. Therapeutic assumes colossal swaths of implied defense that they must conclusively win to frame all our offense. When you see Mitchell 16, the mass extinction is quantifiably different phenomena that demands ethical categories that erases life from histories that threats the ontological conditions of life and imagines that do not play a planet with comprehensive negation that has mass extinction that entails the skill of mass extinction. So huge that humans need to draw every possible way of responding. The destruction undermines the conditions of the plurality that enables life to thrive. And catastrophic risks are systemically overrated. Answers Olsen could actually Willer 116 ultra low risk or never experienced this as experts applying the quantitative methods where the public seems less interested in describing the risk. The speech is less effective in simulating a reaction. The prefrontal cortex draws in experiences of the brain less unavailable events and analytics about the senior's unavailability neglects the compound by disstrain of warnings. The second is magnitude of psychology large impacts yield nothing. This is lies that may be overall the end of the world, but it might be too much disabling rather than mobilizing people are defecting problems that are so large they might consume the capacity. People are good to save the refugee, less willing to save the unidentified population exercises which are like a single individual. And the 50 states and relevant subnational actors, including the National Governors Association through Transnational Feminist Land, should suspend cooperation and administration of federal programs until the federal government substantially reduces military forces in the West Asian North Africa region. It competes in solves conditioning the plan never fails, but it results in federal adoption and progressive expansion of sovereignty. Bloomberg 21, the states and federal government sovereigns are federalism recognizes independence and power that pushes back states to not administer the program that it is seeking to change. This is uncooperative federalism that states do changing the law exploiting gaps in regulatory schemes, contesting policy states might refuse to perk and obstruct. This has an effect that relies on the states for assistance in conjunction with the federal government become cooperative to the federal government authority has agreed to comply and reasserting states' sovereignty counterbalances governmental failures from federal encouragement, extinction of accounts, 19 fears economic and security challenges from New Pearl and Korea, ISIS terrorism, warming. The are all symptoms of a greater problem that is failure to respond, failure within years. This is a failing governance. The transfer within the states. There's so much that the federal government makes the targets of lobbying negotiations impossible. Creates an unbalanced system which we must address systemic failures and fix the process with newer solutions and societal problems to address the cause of returning the power back to states. Otherwise, dysfunction will only get worse. And the United States means only federal. It could attend to take its ordinary meaning. The United States means nations. The federal government's dictionary is consistent with this given our interpretation. Only the federal government. And no wonder theory that we're unfair not the planet. Unfair not the planet is a good idea. And the cause of judgment and introduced speech is one. And neutral outlaw means the trend of always be negative. No devious when she expects to drop the argument. And the United States ought to endorse transnational fundamentalism. Solves the case standards about movements being key. And never mentions military process. Also see experience of the solvency for the movements. And the broad spillover of the plane is a result of transnational fundamentalism, not the plane alone. And withdrawal trigger side of which the United States is still a major player, but the plane is key for great power competition as CMP 20 when the United States scales back military presence China Russia fill the gap. Iraq is worried about if the United States is slowly look elsewhere in an area of intense competition. Russia China looking closely in the vacuum can exploit Russia's as well as air defense system. China is seeing military races strategy of doing more to prevent China and Russia. The United States is a partner of choice where they never look towards open countries and hedge and great power competition and the Middle East coast nuclear only continue to US presences necessary to prevent arms racing miscalculation. Meet 15 the reducing our environment in the Middle East breaking out causes war destroys like geopolitical competition and blackmails the world. Our strong American military presence in the Middle East suppressing competition. China and 6 build Japan, India sees essentially third CO7 competition for security drives hostility strike increases the risk of great power conflict intensifies and American exit causes re-intervention and there's more destabilizing branch 19 calls for disengaging military flight and the United States pulls back and causes worse circumstances. Higher cost countries are sitting in top energy strategic importance hostile lines remain the here's them compelled to continue engagement in Afghanistan withdraw from Iraq Syria contributing to meltdown. They are compelled to re-intervention fantasy. It's just think the United States can disengage without consequence instability demands of military withdrawals are followed by re-engagement. The new conflict is searching emergency interventions repair damages and Chinese desire for great power conquest is intrinsically tied to anti-queer violence. Bloomberg 22 Chinese censors said that anti-gay themes and activists were trying to organize gay arrests were to name policies and squeezing down LGBTQ allies whose was motivating him. G's priorities to making China a great power tailored toward coming policies that builds a robust population being seen as trans is an important concept. The party is pushing towards more children and the case the United States has been a cause of anti-imperialism globally. Jimmy 15 the United States has played an anti-imperial anti-colonial role supporting the independence of the colonies and not establishing empire pushing for European decolonization facilitated the breakdown of empires. International law inspired anti-colonial movements and the challenges of foreign policies addressing complex adaptive systems usually direct frameworks that attempt to impose singular understandings of the systems for 11 the straightforward perceptions or reductions analyzing to not help deal with the complexity ambiguities characterizing behavior thus for them to act precisely manage outcomes the inability to foresee challenges and changes across Middle East those self-guard the non-linear changes prioritizes macro level predicted understanding of parts of strategies not experimenting with solutions and ours reflexive and effective its track record of predictions proves generated right at 15 the patterns informed decision making broad scholarship and improving policy reforms evidence by building on predictive outcomes that there is not a danger in anticipating research and quantitative techniques for crafting policies about research making about policy technical methods and causal inferences and empirical problem size around the line is the only way to apply them effectively and no root cause of war. Harkin 14 the scholars have continued to identify causes of war. Scholars been social critique cherry pick evidence but there's no explanation that accounts for diversity of war can propagate independent of social factors that has causation backwards where promotes inequality and our predictions are valuable. In fact, that good theory should be logically consistent empirically valid. Good theory should not leave us wondering about relationships and oxygen causes war does not help us understand when war is likely. Theories are more valuable and they illuminate the behavior that seems unrelated. Obscure theories are less likely to influence policy. Working in both are is most productive and consistent. Hudson 10 the imagining gender into social studies validates the insights of feminist Irish scholars and analysts consistent with rethinking on feminist ground speaking with both gender perspective needs to entail a rejection of conventional concepts and the contention through the world balance of the debated representations to influence reality culture. 2K the reality is not divided by the verbal word the worlds are experiencing imperfectly correlated. The decide philosophical questions is not to say that we should work closely. And second, the rehighlighting of various backwards. It says the policy debate is necessary to commit important research to policymakers to educate educated warfighters because of debaters' research inserted one you see very in purple and ours did not inherently Eurocentric. 119 the international social studies not conditioned by Western dominance existence does not need to lead to a unipolar structure by around the West. In a Eurocentric discourse reproduces the Eurocentrism they seek to critique intervention, solves war, and reduces military violence. Walter at all 21 the data reveals peacekeeping is effective, large positive, significant violence. Finds a region within peacekeeping that experience less conflict and longer peace, and their office is not unique. When it sees Fernandez about the withdrawal of Afghanistan, which already happened. Third, the United States is an incapable actor. When he sees solid says the United States will always blatantly contradict its sentiments to its actions. In contention one, their analysis reductively reifies gender norms. Reader 15, we say we're seeing women as more peaceful, supporting feminist perspective and behavior encourages gender-based on behavior sophisticated. The role of women and group varies widely. Their complex gender and IR seems that research is not allowed for varying effects, and they overstate gender and their root cause arguments. We create essentials in Proof 14, the dangers of undercoming feminism insights that all approaches is propositions position to get found to be our life guests and guessing why masculinities are more competitive.
Good for cross.
Yep.
Counterplan, what's the status of both of them?
Conditional.
Sure. On the military presence pick, I guess the net benefits China failing.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess on the extinction card, your Mitchell card seems to be talking about like extinction of like animal species. Why does this apply to humans as well?
Nuclear risk would also threaten like animal species. It's also a statement about global mass extinction that requires immediate response.
Sure. 50 states counterplan. Why is it? Or how does it?
Sure, it forces demands from the states and subnational actors through a transnational feminist lens, which integrates policies and breaks down the patriarchal federal government.
Sure. IR good. Can you explain your Frey card? Or Fred? Sure.
Yeah, sure. It says that we shouldn't look towards singular causes of events. It states that the causes are varying and complex within each individual instance of violence, so we should look towards proximate causes and reasons instead of looking for monolithic assumptions.
I guess how is like a view of extinction first not monolithic as well?
Sure, we're saying the way that we analyze the causes for events should be specific and contextual to that event. Extinction outweighs is a distinct theory. We say that the one issue is distinct because it.
Can you spin your Alexandra card? Your IR is not intrinsically Eurocentric.
Yeah, sure. It makes a claim that the way that IR operates is not inherently based on Western dominance because it's also adopted by other countries like China, which also uses forms of international relations, etc. Second, it states that surrounding international relations in the context of the West recreates this Eurocentric mindset because it just views the IR as intrinsically to the West and views the rest as unsophisticated because they're unable to use it.
Sure. I guess on the like the military presence pick. Or I guess like what does it mean for the U.S. to endorse transnational feminism? And I guess why is this distinct from the AF if we or does the pick result in a reduction of military presence?
The pick results in governmental policies around transnational feminism broadly.
Yeah, so we've made a claim in the 1AC that reducing military presence would be sort of like a way to like endorse transnational feminism. So why is this not Plan Plus is what I'm asking.
Well, it's Plan Minus because it removes the mandate of the plan, which is reducing military presence.
Okay. On the, I guess, can you explain your Weiner card?
Where?
The catastrophic risks are underestimated.
Yeah, sure. It makes a claim that the way that it's based on observational studies of people, and it states that the way that people behave around existential risk is they view it as less likely and something that they ignore because there's no singular individual to be saved when it comes to
Did you cut
existential
the
risks.
PMCs off?
Yeah.
Okay. And you read everything else?
I think I skipped some cards on case.
Yeah. Sure. I guess that's fine. I have like 2 seconds left. I'll take running. I took a minute 4 seconds. I'll send the doc right now. Order's gonna be case in the order of the NC. Then it's going to be extra T. Then it's gonna be the disclosure stuff. Then it's gonna be like extinction outweighs will be done on the off, not on case. And then it's gonna be the state's counterplan, and then it's going to be the like military presence. I think I'll send it right now. It's in the speech. Oh, yeah, sorry. It's like named the same thing because the one arrow's on top of the
Yeah,
mouse.
you're right.
Does anybody need the order again, or is it ready?
Definitely the doc.
What?
Downloading the doc.
Oh, sweet. The order's also in the doc.
I'm good.
Sweet. The U.S. Western Travel Wendy using a transnational feminist lens or affirmative is an active militant production of the perpetrating of white supremacist patriarchal viewpoints causes a cycle of violence by educating ourselves on ongoing transnational feminist movements to fight against hegemonic segregation, overtaking debate. Discourse come first to extend the Reiner card subject for Mason is true. Our views change how the word and how we learn about the word means to stop allowing culture of violence and be theology is illusory. Extend Vincent when we leave this round our present web change. Don't let this say what we say lies. That's our Vincent card and see flawed knowledge produces flawed results. Incoherent represent policy making impossible because it based all false understandings of the world. Tributes about the office good active knowledge production. A is hard the duty is substantially increasing its measure presence at these debate tournaments. In the debates, they're trying to recruit the counter the model of debate that the DoD is looking for because it critiques our military for being patriarchal and bad. B is spill over the voting off might not seem like a big deal in this round, but it proves that it does spill over by other schools like Marlboro cutting a transnational feminism off and C is specifically good to reject bad reps that sort of are bad in the debate space on the line by line. On the fresh card, our scenarios are specific and true, and they do the same thing with usual. And our understanding the IRA is complex because we look at the intersection of class and the way that countries use power. Patriarchy is the root cause. Those are Kaya card and well on predictions true. No, the RA and PIC's extinction hasn't happened even though it's been predicted a bunch of times. That this the Olsen card shall do below. On the IRA good extent shepherd, they view war as a one-off event rather than part of a continuing and striving times of peace. They ignore the suffering of women who are constantly at war with their oppressors. As long as they view IRA from this approach, their impacts become inevitable. On the role of the ballot, extend the role of the ballot is to evaluate the debate as an act of knowledge production for various benefit. Judges are educators, not legislators. Treating debate as an educational activity will lead to more knowledge and be key to education about the cards and objectively false impacts have no real world value. Excessively few frameworks are harmful and CR cards are specifically how about reps in debate affect subjectivity. Reps in debate affect subjectivity. Well, there it says on the Barry highlight. We disagree with Barry when they say that militarization is good. We think that militarization is bad. That the seat of the gap. The card just proves that the U.S. is increasing its military presence in debate. On the Walter, the card that was done above, on the Walter card, that was intervention's bad, which is all due on the military presence pick. On the Fernandez card, we didn't talk about Afghanistan. We didn't withdraw from Afghanistan. We were kicked out, and talk list says the U.S. is a bad actor now, but can be a good one post plan. Extra T. We don't feel everybody becomes a transnational feminist. The plan is done under that lens to be plateaus in a vacuum. We call the whole resolution, which with the transnational feminist lens, counter-interpretation, we defend the whole resolution with a specific framing mechanism. The offense is subject formation that was done above. 2 silencing just the shells and active attempts to censor feminist scholarship and debate, which is bad. 3 reverse North 70K debate is getting better, but voting against down framework causes us to sort of get worse on defense. 1 no ground loss. The thesis of the AC is that presence is bad. If you don't have presence bad on a presence good topic, then that's your fault. Not like no league space solution. Our interpretation about framing mechanisms to the app about crazy abuse about the way they find the topic of it is most predictable on the spec shell. Extend reasonability as topic against the abusive theory, must await the abusive voting theory on theory and goes to the racial bottom margins for this theory debate. I disclosed to the app 1 minute after the flip because I was writing the BART here and didn't see your text. I'm really sorry about that. On the extinction ways. Extend mission from the 1 extinction discourse is in neutral gender and justifies things like sexual assault to survive at all costs. And 2 we access extinction implies the root cause them. That's 1 see cause causes one the reason in the first place. If we stop war, even if they stop war in the 1 instance, the app can solve all future wars. And 3 threat construction justification for patriarchal violence to the left of that damage legislation protect next scenarios are product of identity crisis, not material reality. That's the Fernandez card. And extend in their consequential extinction impacts are judges to talk about continued violence because only magnitude matters. The reproduction of extinction always causes us to recreate those. So even if they can solve one scenario, there will always be better. And on the Mitchell card, thank you for reading evidence for us. This Mitchell evidence is in the context of human caused animal extinction and concludes that the form of traditional IRA is bad because it's human subject and calls out nuclear war images as being bad. Insert the rehighlighting on the state's counterplan. Perm to both. Perm to the counterplan reduce refers to the ends of the means. Tell us in a way about it. The justification for the counterplan can be ignored. The extinction represents transnational feminists to be co-opted and ultimately forgotten together. For the 5. Starting to focus on gender practice, setting up the goal central overall, and integrating gender goals into regular policies so as it can stretching the goal of gender equality dual agenda is bad on the military presence big. Cases of dissent in the counterplan, even Sanders is about transnational feminism in general. All of our cards about how military presence is bad and double line other A. The absent endorsement of transnational feminism leads to withdrawal of military presence in the West Asian North Africa region through transnational feminist list, which means the counterplan is plan plus, or B, they don't reduce military presence, which means that they can't solve and gender assumption about Middle East for policy making, remissive for policy making the counterplan while they have seemingly good and such as so rely on the same rhetoric that inaccuracies not justified intervention. R11. Masculinity operated as tools for organizing politics, changing conflict in the region, theories of Islam, built upon accountabilities, hypersexual masculinity, institutionalized masculinity, shape region, attempt to reframe masculinity studies done with full conscience. I cut the card at dual agenda, like that. Right. That was the really card, everything else was wrong.
Wait, what card did you cut it at?
I cut it at do you see dual, success,
Oh,
connecting,
yes.
and stretching of gender, go to a legend.
No voting issues.
No.
disclosure, the 50 states counterplan, the military presence pick, like the extinction page, then the case. Oh, yeah.
No,
Just like,
Not going for tier disclosure, proving your fair and topical is a baseline for referendum, not a reason to vote. The 50 states or the 50 states counterpart not going for it was conditional, permanent, has a competition, not a shift in advocacy. The military presence pick. I have to win two things to win this debate. They dropped it. The drop dissent outweighs the case, and realism is true, which is a dissent to their method on the 1EC. Both were mishandled. I'm going for the pick. It solves the case. 1EC standard says that movements broadly are key to opening up transnational feminist movements for realization. Judge kick the counterpoint is a logical extension of content sufficiency framing to drop the net benefits. So it's a reason, so any risk that outweighs in terms of cases. Reason that's why the deficits are marginal in terms and outweighs the U.S. extend the drop deterrence. This had use influence in the Middle East is strong but not invincible. Current deployments are the only line preventing China and Russian engagement for a reverse system in the Middle East. The plan's broad withdrawal gives Russia and China power and opening that they've been looking for, which allows them to establish military influence as a starting point for great power competition that goes nuclear. Because of interest asymmetries, great power war through the region has unique risk of escalating because of competition is zero-sum. The disputes are drives hostility and causes nuclear conflict. That turns now is the case. One, China, Russia, Finland, which creates the same form of violence but worse because they're authoritarian countries with gender violence embedded in their policies, which was dropped in the one. Specifically, China creates a dystopian surveillance state that results in suppression and targets gender minorities. Second is reintervention, which is 1EC brands, which was dropped. The United States forces to re-engage because of the strategic values of the Middle East, coupled with China-Russian engagement for their forces their hand because they're fear they'll be outcompeted in that ways because the positions U.S. troops in worse circumstances results in more conflict because they're reactionary after the fact, which means that the impacts they're responding to are already happening. So it turns the case and causes re-intervention. The 1EC only gets to feel that they reduce the actions through transnational feminism, but not that there wouldn't be a re-intervention for U.S. interests. I'll do the long one here. 1 the permutations can't be cross-blood. Obviously, it's severance because military presence is the key action of the F, and the counterplan picks out of the mandate of the plane, which is the action that results in transnational feminism. The counterplan only endorses transnational feminism, which is something they justified on the framing page, but not something they have justified intrinsically for solvency. Second, the double bind isn't coherent. The counterplan doesn't fail the plane. It doesn't result in it, so it's still competitive. It doesn't fail the plane, so it's obviously plane minus, not plane plus. This misunderstands competition because it does not fail the mandate of the plane, so it's obviously not a position that includes the plane and goes further. The rest of the offense, there's no military presence. Q1 in the 1 year, so the counterplan solves any residual offensive impacts of the affirmative. It approaches feminism broadly through U.S. policy, which 1EC standards says solves gender violence. It reorients policies, overall policy approaches to the Middle East as anti-gender, but keeps them but doesn't remove them from the region, which means it's still competitive. The deficits, the masculine lens deficit from the first counterplan, it doesn't apply. 1, the counterplan fails a feminist lens action, which means it's the same route to solvency as the affirmative. At worst, the counterplan just solves just as well as the plan. Second, the only justification for why it's exclusive is adding other goals. This is not an intrinsic action of the counterplan. The counterplan means that they take a stand, or the counterplan means they take a stand against the patriarchal government and take different policies broadly through the federal government, which means it resolves and sends a broader signal instead of just attaching it to one policy. It affects the government more broadly. The gendered assumptions deficit 1, the counterplan is a pick out of the Middle East, which means that we remove any assumptions. So it's obviously the opposite. Second, this is not a dissent to or dissent empirical instances of other countries going to the United States and the Middle East means it's true because we dropped the extinction outweighs page. Their answer to extinction outweighs was a cross-application of a 1EC card that concludes that a year later. 1EC Mitchell is an extinction outweighs advocate. Extinction outweighs forecloses the ability for anyone to find meaning or enter subjective value, which in their own lives, even if they're right about the future, it's unethical to make decisions for trillions upon trillions of people that could potentially exist in the future and say that their life is not worth living regardless of their theory of power. In terms of approximate impacts, winning masculine militarism doesn't mean that violence can't operate on a sliding scale. Even their theory of power would say that there can be worse impacts that are magnified by nuclear conflict that causes disease to average cities and removes basic access to food and water. Their extinction impacts extinction index are untenable are evident, or their own evidence. Mitchell concludes that extinction is a side constraint, and also they've dropped an indict of their analysis. They assume implied defense, which of it being systemically underrated. 1EC Weiner answers this because it says it's based on behavioral studies that say that research concluded that there are scientific reasons why extinction is viewed as less important, but to the public because there's no specific individual to be sympathetic to. I'll answer their arguments. 1, they say extinction justifies sexual violence. Extinction turns their argument because it doesn't ignore violence, even if her impact doesn't cause extinction. Middle East war definitely magnifies their impacts and makes it worse because it causes more dangerous U.S. behavior and reintervention, which was done above. Second, the root cause argument. Winning our thesis of IR means that there is no root cause because each cause of war is individual and contextual. They cannot say that there's a single cause of war because each nation operates individual based on their own political philosophy, proving how China and Russia might seem to exhibit similar behavior but have completely different justifications for the action. 3, the Mitchell retaliating is wrong. Nukes would cause mass suffering and urgency for animals too as well, which is our thesis because it would also affect humans, and also FemIR is also human focused, so there's no impact to not being focused on animals. The case page. I'm going for realism. IR is true and real. View this as a dissent to their method and role. The ballot proves that their political assumptions are wrong, and if we're bad policies, reject secret understandings of events because they don't exist. That was 1EC Fred. Straightforward perceptions of the world are always inaccurate because they do not account for diverse causes of war. Specifically explains why the United States has an inability to foresee dangers in the Middle East because they're focused on single causes. That means that you should reject saying that all things lead to feminism. Events must be contextualized through the statistical studies and analysis of all specific events as proven by the deterrence. China and Russia have contextual understandings of their spheres of influence within the Middle East, and feminism cannot account for all of them. Only diverse understandings understandings of influence draws their own actions. R is descriptive and accurate and true. That was one to see writer and work in itself reflexive, meaning that it builds upon itself as more predictions are made. The predictions are made more accurate because they're capable of handling more complex information, which allows us to gather data and make better predictions in the future. This is a dissent to their predictions because it means that they're inaccurate interpretations about how events play out, which proves that they have no root cause because each event is specific and individual given to a given scenario. All indexed by error ignore decades of research and statistical confirmations of R's effectiveness, which is dangerous and proves that lives are at stake. And I'll answer the long line 1 they say that they view lives or view events as one of a structure. Our thesis and idea of R explains that events are not a result of a structure. Predictions are proven that the reason behind each action is contextual, not underlying. So 1 or 2 they say we don't equivocate transnational movements. So white nationalism and transnational movements can be successful, but they operate under if they operate under a contextual and correct interpretation of international relations that they don't apply for. They say the past extinction predictions prove that our predictions fail. This is incorrect because it's making predictions about geopolitical implications of events, which proves that there's increasing geopolitical stakes in the Middle East, which is dropped, which means that it is true. Also proves that predictions are true because they're basing on impending political and empirical studies of what is going on in the status quo.
I'll take the. I took 1 out of 4. So. It's gonna be case. Case counterpart. Judge's pick. Sweet. This is a debate about representations. Insofar as we win that the representation are bad, you can independently affirm to extend the role of the judges to evaluate the debate as a project of research in the debate search. Interpretation is superior for two drop reasons. A, subject information. Extend right of representation to create narratives that discount violent emphasize only certain varieties on the hope of any social advances to do what we can to push back against these narratives. This is especially true in debate, one of the biggest forms for the next generation to learn about different policy and academic knowledge. We must ensure that the knowledge we learn is good knowledge, not false understandings of the world that are bad. And B, extend the Vincent Corfion is illusory. We need to stop going along a debate as if we're in a little bubble, and we need to acknowledge a ongoing hypermasculinity overtaking debate insofar as they've dropped discord first. If we win that, we all play the post-field offense. Insofar as we win that the representations are bad, even if our theory of IR isn't wrong, that isn't responsive to our role of the ballot, because this is specifically about discourses. Insofar as we win that our discourses in the are good, then two reasons why our discourses are good. A, due to the increasing presence in debate, we have to say no to recruiters by showing that they have no place in our activity. Transnational feminism is specifically good because it allows us to break down the hypermasculinity military debate space by fighting against it. B, start this argument. Our offense precludes theirs because hypermasculinity is the root cause of war making. Even if the threats are real, we have a reason why the threats started in the first place. And pick proper. The counterplan mobilizes masculine representation of war and extinction in order to solve the obvious reason that they cannot access the ethical demand of the plan. The counterplan creates new justification for action, which means that all of the gender arguments get watered down and drowned out. That's the very look hard. Even if they feel on a transnational feminist lens, they still justify the counterplan through a lens of extinction, which is independently bad. That was our very look hard. So even if they win that, sort of yes, they feel it through transnational feminism. The fair construction, I'll do that on the extinction on the net benefit page. To drop cases to discipline the counterplan, even if centers is about transnational feminism in general. The whole thesis of the app is that reducing military presence is, or so that the military presence sort of perpetuates hypermasculinity. Yeah, that's a good reason to sort of withdraw military presence. And 3, cases to disrupt the net benefit. That was Fernandez. There's always going to be a tangible distress to save that's going to be needed to be saved. That's the Fernandez card. The whole thesis of the app is that we shouldn't be re-intervening in the region with the justification that like, these women are going to be suffering. The helpless Afghan women needs to be saved. This is an independent reason to like their representation are bad on the extinction first debate. Read the Mitchell re-highlight after the round. This is an app that they conclude that the nuclear war is a bad act of threat construction. This is like even if you don't buy this card is in the context of animals, which isn't even about human extinction, which means that you shouldn't buy what they're saying. And 2, they drop roles in threat construction. There's always going to be another reason not to deal with women's constant suffering, i.e. the threat construction of extinction effects are used to justify continued violence against women because magnitude is the only thing that matters, and magnitude of extinction infinitely outweighs the probability of women suffering in the status quo, which means that there's always going to be another constructed reason for their another justified extinction in Baghdad. Extend the shepherd card. The rhetoric of preventing war pretends that we're at peace now, but this does a conflict that kills people simply because we are privileged in the United States aren't affected. Some people dying of a lack of water, healthcare instead of a bomb doesn't make that magically fine. And even if our IR is wrong, that doesn't discount our role of the ballot. Insofar as we win, the extinction discourse is bad because it sort of ignores the suffering of women in the status quo. Then that's enough to affirm, like under the role of the ballot, which they dropped. The Mitchell re-highlight after the round concludes app is specifically not about humans, and it's in the context of saying that nuclear war rhetoric is specifically bad. Good debate.